The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has been ordered by the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja to appear before it to explain his refusal to swear in 8 judges-designate of the Edo State High Court. As seen on a local newspaper, the Daily Independent, the judges-designate were recommended for appointment as Honorable High Court judges by the National Judicial Council since June 2023. An Edo-born lawyer, Andrew Emwanta, had instituted the case against the Governor of Edo State, the State Attorney General, and the National Judicial Council, NGT. The court, presided by Honorable Justice O.A. Egwuatu, after hearing the application and submission of counsel for the plaintiff and applicant, Dafe None Akpomudiare, Esquire, of Ida Hagbon and Co., gave a bench ruling on the motion ex parte. The court subsequently adjourned the matter to the 22nd of January 2024. All the defendants' respondents have been served the court-enrolled order. Under the Federal High Court rules, the governor and other defendants have 3 days to comply with the order to show cause by fulfilling their court processes as respondents to the order of the court. To discuss this, we're now joined by Andrew Emwanta himself, a constitutional lawyer and former Commissioner of Communication and Orientation in Edo State. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, and good evening to Nigerians at home.
All right. What legal precedent or status might the court have considered in demanding the governor to appear to explain his refusal to swear in the judges?
Yeah, thank you. The independence of the judiciary is guaranteed under the Constitution, and that is why the drafters of the 1999 Constitution, unlike in the 1979 Constitution that did not provide for a central judicial clearinghouse like the National Judicial Council. And for us as constitutional lawyers, we believe that that device was deliberately placed there so that governors will not determine who becomes a judge in their own state. I won't go into the details of the substantive matter, being the plaintiff in that case, but I'll tell you that there was need for us to rush to court to get that order because we had it on good authority. Of the 8 judges, the governor was planning to swear only 5 because for him, of the 8, it was supposed to be a situation where a particular candidate of his was supposed to be amongst that list. So he's not comfortable with some of the judges-designate. And the question is, as a governor, are you supposed to be interested in who becomes a judge, particularly when the judiciary is meant to curb the excesses of both the executive and the legislature? The idea behind this procedure is to prevent governors from determining who becomes members of the judiciary, because it becomes a threat to democracy where governors play a very huge role in picking judges. There will not be justice. Because these judges cannot give decisions against such governors if the NGC was not there. Because it was the same governor that recommended 16 names. And of the 16, because we had 8 vacancies, and the law is that you must send 2 names, one as priority and one as reserved, so that they are not under obligation to pick. They screen and decide those who are competent. And in their wisdom, I mean, the NJC is headed by no less a person than the Chief Justice of Nigeria. The President of the Court of Appeal is a member, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. I mean, you have the best we have in our profession. Even the members of the Nigerian Bar Association are well represented by 5 senior advocates. So it's quite unfortunate if the Chief Justice of Nigeria, when you sent a list to him, has recommended 8 persons. Since June, you refuse to swear this person.
All right, let's focus on this now, and then hopefully we'll come back. I would need to, pick your brains on the fact that we still have a situation where the governor of a state still determines who sits on the bench in the state. But let's look at the possibility of compliance of the governor to the court ruling. Do you see him appearing before the court to respond, or is there a possibility that he won't? If that is the case, what would be the implication?
Thank you. In filing this action, we knew too well that the Attorney General of the state, who is the 3rd defendant in this suit, is a member of the Judicial Service Commission that recommended, or rather that forwarded a list of these persons to the National Judicial Council. under the directives of the governor. And as such, if the governor fails to obey this order of showing cause by filing the necessary processes as required under the rules, of course, that is an act of contempt. He may have immunity, but his attorney general will be cited for contempt, and it's 3 months imprisonment. It has implications, because there's a former Chief Justice of Nigeria that said, in a situation where the rule of law is jettisoned, anarchy becomes the sole beneficiary.
Well, there's been a precedent in Edo State where we've had a situation where House of Assembly members were not put in when they were supposed
14
to.
Of them, yes, we have that precedent.
When the governor, let me not preempt him, if the governor does not do this, what is going to happen to the nominations?
You know, you just nailed it on the head. I said earlier that it's an order of court. Failure to obey that order, we will file forms 48 and 49 for contempt. The attorney general will be committed to prison.
Well, when has that ever happened? Would he go to prison?
I've seen a situation where a former attorney general of Edo State, my friend, Dr. Adaze Andrew Emwanta, was committed to prison for this same issue of the Edo State government refusal to obey a court order. It's not a question of I was told. I was part of the team who went to prison to ask that he should be released. We've seen it. We have that incident in Edo State. A federal high court judge, this same court, federal high court judge in Benin City, sent an attorney general to jail over an order not by the governor at the time, but a previous governor. So that even if tomorrow the governor leaves and he's leaving next year, the governor that comes after him is at liberty to obey the order or not. But in the event that he fails to obey, his own attorney general will also go to jail. Because we have a constitutional democracy, whereby we have 3 organs of government, and each organ has its role. The National Judicial Council, much as it is constituted by the creme de la creme of the Nigerian judiciary, headed by the CGN, but it's an executive body established under Part 1 of the 3rd schedule to the Constitution. And I think it's because the governor has decided to be on a coalition course with the federal government. And I'll tell you very clearly, for him, he feels that as a subnational, the federal government cannot give him directives. For the past how many months since the president's administration came in May, the governor has chosen not to attend National Economic Council meetings. The last meeting, his absenteeism was even noticed.
So how is this impacting?
The deputy governor who was supposed to represent him, because of the fight he's having with him, he refused to allow him to attend the past 3 or 4 meetings. And the last session, very important things were discussed. But rather, the governor chose to go to Dubai. I mean, he went somewhere else instead of attending
I would like to ask you
as the National Economic Council meeting. And this same issue is now playing out again. The National Judicial Council since June has recommended persons for appointment. The governor has refused.
All right, let me take this question as it's written, considering the timeline.
Body, which is the National Judicial Council. So as a subnational, you cannot be fighting the federal government and expect that same federal government to cooperate with you in developing your state. And we have it play out in roads. He will say, this is a federal road, I will not touch it. Your duty as governor is to protect the welfare and the security of Edo people. All right, let me excuses. And that's why, in this case, we had to go to court to compel it.
Okay, the court has ruled. There's a timeline set. What are the likely scenarios that could unfold between now and the adjourned date of January 2022? And what strategies might be employed by both the plaintiff and the defendants, and how might these strategies affect the outcome of the case? I have to take it the way it is written here.
I'm not just a lawyer. I'm a constitutional law teacher. I cannot expose my strategies on national TV. It is for the governor to appear in court. And appearance is not when you physically appear. You announce you enter appearance by filing the necessary documents. And namely, under the rules, it is 3 days from the time the processes, particularly the court order, is served on the party who has been told to show cause. And we've served them today. So
all right, I'm told we're out of time.
The time has started running. And if after that time, they fail to, by the time the court comes back in January, we'll be filing forms 48 and 49 for somebody to go to jail.
I'd really love to see what that outcome. But quickly, in 30 seconds, if you can, you talked about the governor. Even at the federal level, you still have the president confirming, appointments and stuff. In this case,
and dispatch.
So is it possible to tweak that part of the law so the governors and presidents don't have to have a role in the nomination? What could be, I know it's a very short time, but as quickly as you can.
Well, I think the device is there for checks and balances. What of if in November 2024, the judiciary now says, we will not swear you in. You have not been respecting our orders. I mean, there will be chaos. So for me, it's an anathema for a governor to refuse to swear in judges or approve the swearing of judges. It's an anathema. So what is happening in Edo is not acceptable. It's a case of executive lawlessness. Simplicity.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. And we definitely look forward to what happens in January.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.